Hello, I'm Scott Soshnick.
And I'm Eben Novy-Williams, and this is the Summer of Soccer Sports Business Podcast, the Sporticast.
All right, our guest is Camilo Durana, EVP, Apple Partnerships, Properties, and Events at MLS and some Soccer United Marketing. And Camilo, if you listen to the show, we like to give Eben a grade for his intro. That wry smile, every time he gets that little smile, he thinks he did well. So I don't. He probably thinks he's in a B+ range today. He's happy with the performance. I thought the energy was low. It didn't match the NWSL, even though you were trying the summer of marketing. I see what you did there. So Camilo, please rate Eben's opening of the show.
I'm gonna build some allies, and I'm gonna give him an A.
Smart man.
Nailed the summer soccer piece. We've got a big summer coming up, and you called it out effectively. So I'll give you an A, Eben.
This is a great time of year if you're a soccer fan.
Yeah.
I'm watching Euro games in the office, going home now.
Well,
I got
when you're
Copa
not watching
America
cricket.
when
When you're not watching cricket, you find some time for
I'm
some
now
soccer.
a cricket expert, yeah.
Yeah, but this is sort of this is a wall-to-wall soccer time. For if you're a fan of soccer, you flip the channels. You got plenty of choices, right, Camilo?
Yeah, and it's a full summer. I mean, you've got the Euros live right now in the mornings. You've got Copa America that kicked off last night. That'll be around for a month. Back half of the summer, then you'll have Leagues Cup. An enormous amount of preseason programming as well. A lot of the European clubs coming to North America for preseason. An MLS All-Star game in there. It's a high-volume summer full of soccer, big stadium games. It's really exciting for us.
So you sit across all of these things, and we can get into Soccer United marketing because I think it's a fascinating piece of MLS's business ecosystem that a lot of fans don't know about. But real quick, right now, how are you spending your time? I know you were down in Atlanta for Copa America kickoff last week. How do you divvy up spending time on Soccer United marketing, spending time on MLS season, which is still going on, planning the second Leagues Cup, all the other things that SUSM is doing with the Argentinian national team, the Mexican national team? How do you divvy things up when everything is layered on top of itself like it is right now?
I've got a great team of really remarkable professionals who are great at what they do, but my time is spent. I oversee the marketing organization, our business partnership with Apple, and a lot of what Soccer United Marketing does from a sponsorship representation standpoint. Our match business, which includes Argentinian national team games, the Mexican national team annual tour. We're managing all sales and promotion for the Copa America right now. We built and launched Leagues Cup that's getting ready to kick off its second edition and sort of an expanded official tournament form in a handful of weeks. And I also oversee our events team, which puts on great events for Major League Soccer, like the MLS All-Star Game, the Skills Challenge, and many more.
Yeah. Other than that, what do you do?
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, what else do you do? But I would be. I know this. Eben knows this. But the popularity of the Mexican national team in the United States, people do not understand the popularity of Liga MX and the audience that it brings. Please just tell everybody who they really don't understand just how popular the Mexican team is here.
Yeah, we've had about a 20-year plus partnership with the Mexican Federation. They play 5 games annually in the United States that we arrange for them, in addition to official competitions, a robust U.S.-specific sponsorship portfolio that's over 12 blue-chip sponsors right now. But when they play, we play them in anywhere from 12 to 14 stadiums over a multi-year period. They average over 60,000 fans. So just think about that. If you think about, for example, college football and what they average, these guys are moving around the United States and playing in multiple cities, have a vibrant fan base. And I think a lot of that is based on the work that we've done with the Mexican Federation, the demographics in this country. And as you get across generations, be it first-generation Mexican Americans who have a passion for the team, or second- and third-generation Mexican Americans who really want to reconnect with culture, it's an unbelievable sports and entertainment property that provides entertainment, connectivity with roots, and a really good product on the field.
The Mexican national team played a game recently in College Station, 85,000 fans against Brazil, highest grossing Mexican men's national team game ever in the U.S. From a dollar and cents standpoint, put that in perspective. How big is that gate? Is that all of the things? But what is the highest grossing Mexican national team game in American history look like financially?
We don't reveal those numbers, but 85,000 is one of the largest we've ever done. It's not the largest we've done. We've gotten into the 90s at the Rose Bowl. We've had some pretty big games. But it was the highest attendance for a soccer game in the history of the state of Texas, to put that into perspective. What we're seeing across our business right now is growth in attendance. In Major League Soccer, we're on pace to have another record year from an attendance standpoint, season ticket sales standpoint. We've had over 6.5 million people attend MLS games already. Copa America is going to shatter the attendance records and the revenue records from the 2016 Copa America Centenario, which was sort of the original expanded version with South American and North American teams. And across our Sun business, we're seeing that as well. Higher attendance, growth in ATPs, and a lot more excitement for the sport, which is exactly what we want in this cycle heading into the World Cup in 26.
How much of that is soccer, do you think? How much of that is property specific, things that you're doing with an individual team or with on the league side with MLS? How much of that, I'm curious what your breakout is of just soccer growth and then growth of insert team or league here.
There's inevitably growth for the sport. There's a better product out there. I think on the MLS side in particular, we've worked a lot on the types of players that we're bringing into the league. We launched MLS Next Pro to help develop players more effectively. We launched MLS Next to develop young talents in the right environments. We also, as you know, announced a 10-year partnership with Apple. So every single MLS game is now on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. And what that did is it basically, we're no longer bound by the television windows. And so we're able to standardize kickoff times. Every game, with some exceptions, is on Saturdays at 7:30. It's just made it easier to be a fan. We had 60-plus variations of kickoff times and days in 2023 for Major League Soccer, and you can imagine the complexity of being a fan. We've gotten a lot smarter. We've worked on the product. We're making it easier to be fans of our sport. So it's a mix. It's a mix of us just being better and getting better over time, but the growth of the sport is undoubtable right now in this country.
So just to tie those two things together real quick, I think that the numbers so far this season, attendance up 12% over last year across the league, MLS-wide. You mentioned that the changes in times, shifting to more games on Saturday, I would expect is very good from a fan perspective. I've talked to a lot of owners. They love having Saturday games. I would imagine from a TV perspective, maybe not as good. How much of some of the attendance boosts that you're talking about do you think is a product of getting some of that consistency and shifting a lot more games to Saturday than from what I'm familiar with used to exist under previous deals?
We believe it's a big part of it. And again, it's about making it easier to be a fan. You know what to plan for. Part of our ambition with this change and moving kickoff times to Saturdays at 7:30 was enabling fans to build more rituals, more habits, waking up on Saturday knowing exactly what you're doing, who you're going with, who you're going to watch the game with, be it at home or at the stadium. And it's worked. A lot of it, too, is the work we're doing with our clubs. We launched a club performance group similar to Teambo at the NBA, and we're working on a variety of areas that are just making us better, sharing best practices, thinking about the experience in the stadium, the ticketing offering being standing sections for fans, more premium. There's a lot of work that's going into delivering a better in-stadium experience, and that in turn is also, we believe, having an impact on that 12% growth that you mentioned.
Be careful. Those Teambo folks always wind up leaving to go run teams or join private equity firms to really cash in. So be careful. You got to retain those people. But you were mentioning about the media deal with Apple, and I think it's part science as well as part art. There's reach, there's revenue. How has the sort of that seesaw been? Because you did give up some reach for some revenue, but you do also have, demographically speaking, a younger skewing audience, a more tech-savvy skewing audience. So where are we on that seesaw and the equilibrium of getting everything that you need, the revenue and the reach?
I think one thing to remember is we knew our fans were ready. 70% of our fans were streaming live sports on a weekly basis before we made the change, so our fans were ready. And we actually retain linear deals as well. So we still have games on Fox. When Leagues Cup comes around, we'll have games on Univision. So it is a hybrid. But at the end of the day, if you're a fan, you know every single game is on MLS Season Pass. If you travel internationally, you don't have to worry about whether or not you can catch your game. Your same subscription on your device can deliver that. The second piece is I wouldn't discount the reach of Apple. If you think about the amount of Apple devices out there, their ability to send push notifications, their ability.
I don't discount Apple. It's with me at every moment.
Yeah, and you know, domestically, you know, it's been really positive for us. But I think the bigger story for us has been internationally, where We're now available in 100 countries, and as you know, we have the most diverse player pool in the world, more diverse than the NBA, the NHL, the Premier League. We have players from over 80 countries. So the ability for us to make those games available in all those geographies is a real plus. So we're seeing a lot of opportunity internationally, some great stories brewing right now.
We are chatting with Camilo. Hold on, let me do my mid-interview reset, Eben. I mean, we're like 11. We're 11. I can tell you exactly. 11:40 in. Nobody has said Lionel Messi yet, which is great. But we're chatting with Camilo Durana, EVP Apple Partnership Properties and Events at MLS and Soccer United Marketing. And I'm going to do one here, Eben, then you jump in.
Yeah.
Camilo, do me a favor here. Reach through the Apple phone. Reach through the Xbox. Let me know how you're winning my son. Coming up on 15 years old. He's a sports fan, and I don't attack any specific league, because my kid does not watch live games. That includes NFL, the behemoth, it means baseball. He does not watch the games. Occasionally he would say, Dad, can we go to the stadium? I want to go to a game. But that is not the touch point. How do you wrap your arms around what I call my focus group of one and his pals?
That's the beauty of our partnership with Apple, right? It's not just about the live games. We essentially, when we launched, we had over 1,000 pieces of unique content in MLS Season Pass. We have minimum standards for our clubs. They actually have to produce a certain amount of content that goes on MLS Season Pass, from player profiles to match previews, a lot of it in shorter form. We're releasing on a very timely basis match highlights, match summaries. We've got our whip around show that enables you to consume games from around the league in a more condensed fashion. So I think we've got more variety of product. Obviously, the live games and the 90 minutes are really positive for us. We've seen a growth in the amount of time people are spending watching our games, from our linear days to our now streaming days.
From what to what? How many minutes are they watching? What is it up from what to what?
In 2023, people are watching approximately 22 to 23 minutes of that 90-minute broadcast. Today, we're close to 60 minutes that people are watching, which is not surprising for us, because number one, the quality of our product is much better. The investment we're making on productions, number of cameras, quality of the feed is one. But two, if you think about it, people aren't stumbling upon our games as they're changing channels. It's very intentional viewership. They're seeking it out. They're clicking. They're focused on it. They've paid for a subscription, or they're coming to us because we've got a free match weekend like we have coming up soon. So it's intentional viewership, and that leads to longer viewing, more time with the product.
One thing I would say on the kid thing, Scott, I would think that FIFA, or I guess now EAFC, whatever the game is called, that's one way. I know there was a push for a while at MLS to get team ratings up, or to have the experience of playing FIFA as MLS teams to be more enticing.
Got to get your venues in the game first, right?
Yeah, we're working hard with EA. I mean, listen, it's even broader than that. Our consumer products team, we're looking at the types of products that are available, whether or not they're interesting to that demographic. This year, we also launched MLS Go. The rationale behind that was we know that sports fandom is really defined between the ages of 6 and 13, and we didn't really have a product where people can start playing soccer and develop their soccer interest as a member of the New York Red Bulls or as a member of New York City FC. So this is now scaling nationally so that kids can actually start playing soccer and be part of an MLS experience versus Team A, Team B, or Team Argentina. So I don't think it's a single thing. Product on television is a principal approach. Stadium environment and the experience in stadiums is really critical for us, and we do a lot of thinking about that. The choices we're making in marketing in terms of music, the type of creative that we use is very focused on youth and diverse audiences. So it's a very broad approach to make sure we're engaging fans like your son.
This is your big advantage, Camilo, and if you want EPL or you name it, any international. And I believe it's an international thing. I took my son, you mentioned, was it 2016, the Copa final? It was Chile-Argentina.
Yeah.
And so we saw Messi miss a penalty kick. He was very excited about that. But let me tell you, he also learned all the bad words in Spanish. So that was also, but everybody up, everybody yelling, everybody screaming, compared to artificial scoreboard noise. It's a huge advantage that I mean, supporter section is there alone. But I think the in-venue experience you just mentioned is a huge advantage. But I'm not sure anybody's really ratcheted up to a point where you're taking full advantage of it. I
mean, I would point to places like LAFC, Austin, teams that have worked really hard in building relationships with their supporter groups, understand what they want, provide flexibility. I think we have some of the best stadium environments in sports, worldwide. And so I think a lot of that has been long-term effort. We do a lot of work with our clubs on how we build rituals, the different types of rituals. It can be club-led, fan-led. We work with them on things like TIFOs. It's a big part of what we do because we know, as you think about growing Major League Soccer in a global soccer marketplace where you have other leagues streaming in North America, if you think about our clubs being in cities with other sports that have pretty attractive products, our competitive advantage is that the in-stadium experience that no European club can replicate, and that connectivity in your hometown. And that uniqueness is also something that doesn't necessarily exist across other major sports in North America.
Let's talk about some for a second, if we can. As we said at the beginning, you're an executive with MLS and also an executive with some. For folks who don't know, Soccer United Marketing, formed by the league very early on as well. It's the commercial arm of Major League Soccer, but also a lot of other soccer properties in North America. And you mentioned the ticketing stuff you're doing with Copa America. We mentioned the Mexican national team. You had for a while rights to the U.S. men's national team, and that ended a couple years ago. How unique is Soccer United Marketing in the sports landscape for fans out there who are listening to this who know the NBA or know NFL? Just walk us through how different, and as an economic driver, how important it is for MLS not just to be working with the league and its own properties, but also to be working with other soccer properties in this country.
You can go back to the birth of Soccer United Marketing back in 2002 when Major League Soccer wasn't what it is today. And the challenge was, how do we create a marketplace and a commercial ecosystem within which MLS can grow? So it was really the professionalization of the business within the sport. Because if you think about it, there were a lot of brands investing in the sport, not having great experiences with other entities, other promoters. We decided to bring together the biggest and the best brands and properties in the U.S. Under Soccer United Marketing to build that business, so that when Coca-Cola invested, they'd have a great experience, they'd have an ROI, and we'd build that cycle. And over time, we've built an unbelievable portfolio, a commercial portfolio, and it does a number of things for us. Number one, it does drive revenue to Major League Soccer. It's unique in that we're not a promoter that is necessarily going out there for profit and take the money out of the marketplace. Everything is reinvested because Soccer United Marketing is owned by the owners of Major League Soccer. So as we generate revenue, it's reinvested back into venues, into player development, to all the things that are making Major League Soccer grow. The second piece is it really helps us build relationships with soccer consumers that probably or may not be considering Major League Soccer. In this past year, and the inaugural year of the Expanded Leagues Cup, on average, we had 5,000 new customer records, ticket buyers that went to an MLS stadium for the very first time. Those are likely fans of Liga MX clubs, but it enables us to build relationships with fans and migrate them to Major League Soccer. So it's a great agency that has helped establish the marketplace, professionalize it for a sport in its nascent stages to now where it's actually generating meaningful revenue for Major League Soccer and helping us expand access to fans.
I think it gets undercovered in when we write about team sales, for example, that not only are you buying an MLS club, but people are also buying 1/28 of Soccer United Marketing as well. And I know in talking to people who have bought into the league that's not a non-zero consideration by any means about how they think about the economics of buying into Major League Soccer.
Absolutely, it's something that certainly helps, and it's something that creates big event programming. You mentioned the game down in College Station between Mexico and Brazil. That's something that we worked on with our club in Austin, our club in Houston, our club in Dallas. It's a great tool in addition to the revenue that it brings to owners.
What sort of data are you collecting? You say you have these first-time touch points with new fans. What do you collect from them? How do you utilize it?
Well, think about somebody buying a ticket, right? We have.
What's a ticket?
we have their email address, right? We know how to communicate them. We may know a little bit more about them if we can append some data, and then approach them as Major League Soccer with more opportunities that might be relevant to them. We've got a great player in Hector Herrera, the star of the Houston Dynamo. That's a great value proposition for somebody who's just attended a Mexican national team game to see one of the greatest players in Mexican national team history in Houston. So we try to put folks on those types of journeys. And again, it's people who may not have considered MLS before, but now we've got this unbelievable tool to get fans of the sport who may be trialing it for the first time and giving them an option of a great product in their hometown.
Camilo, yo puedo hacer esa entrevista en español. Mi amigo Eben, no puedo hacer nada.
Cuando quieras cambiar, podemos seguir en español, Eben, con tu
Mira ese bobo. Mira esa sonrisa, no sabe nada. I love it. Hey, one of your former stops, Camilo, you were at AB InBev. You're working for Budweiser. What has changed from the partnership perspective? What do you used to ask for things of leagues, of teams? What has changed these days? What do they ask of you that you're like, oh, that's new?
A lot more customization, right? I think brands want to see their brand come to life in the right ways, and I think the sponsorship industry, it's not just unique to us. I think all sports has evolved. I think they want customization, bespoke approach, and so we spend a lot of time, and our sales team is incredibly talented at this, of building the right solutions, understanding what a partner needs, and customizing the solution. It's less the cookie cutter packages going out the door that perhaps you saw 15 years ago. We've become a lot more sophisticated.
Yeah, maybe it's just a matter of listening. We do that here ourselves with our partners. I say to you, what do you need? What are you trying to accomplish, and how can I help you? Sometimes better to listen than to speak, but you don't see it all the time.
Not always, but that's, I think, one thing that we've become very good at. I think we punch above our weight from a sponsorship perspective. We announced the Michelob Ultra deal today, an Anheuser-Busch deal for Major League Soccer, CONCACAF, and a title sponsorship of the Campeones Cup. We'll have about 8 to 10 additional sponsorship announcements in the next 30 days. So we've got a fair amount of momentum in the summer of soccer.
So we're 20 minutes in. I'm going to do it. Leo Messi. Let's talk about Leo for a second. We're about a year into Leo Messi as an MLS player. There was a huge, obviously, commercial jump when he arrived. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it's come down a little bit. It's not going to be zero, and it's not going to be the huge jump that we initially saw. How do you grade 1 year in how MLS, how Inter Miami, how other clubs have capitalized and been able to retain the initial buzz that came when he joined the league?
I mean, I think his arrival to the league was unique because it came at the start of Leagues Cup, and they had an unbelievable run through Leagues Cup. It was perfect timing. The fact that they won the tournament, I think, added to it.
He kept scoring game-winning goals late, game-tying, game-winning goals.
It was incredible, wasn't it? So that's tough to replicate, but I think our clubs have done a really good job of maintaining that momentum. When Miami travels, I think clubs are doing a really good job of taking advantage of that opportunity. Miami as a club, if you think about the commercial momentum that they have managed to build around Leo, what they've managed to do from a player attraction standpoint, and the types of stars that they've managed to sign alongside him, I think he's brought an enormous amount of commercial momentum to the league. Certainly contributing to sponsorship growth and ticketing growth, although we were on a track to grow prior to his arrival. But I think it's also added credibility from a player standpoint. I think you'll see a lot more, again, in a global marketplace of talent, more players willing to come to Major League Soccer because Lionel Messi's playing here.
Is there a lesson that you learned? Is there a lesson you learned after he arrived, or something you wish you guys had done sooner, more of, or less of, looking back now to think about the first year?
Yeah, signed Leo Messi.
I don't think anybody truly understands the impact that he can have and the impact that he's having right now on younger generations. In my own home, I mean, I live and breathe soccer. It's what I do for a living. It's what I grew up doing. I couldn't get my then 5-year-old to be interested in the sport. I've got some pretty good access to games. He just wasn't interested.
His name is Henrik. How did that happen? I read your bio.
Henrik Larsson, famous Swedish soccer player.
Okay, it is soccer related.
Like I told you, it's in the blood. But he wasn't interested in the sport. It wasn't until 2002 World Cup where kids in his kindergarten started talking about Lionel Messi. He came home and said, I want to know more about this player. And now it's an obsession. And if you think about kids across the country in elementary schools, you see the pink jersey. It's everywhere. So I think what people aren't realizing right now, and perhaps I don't want to say we underestimated, but I don't think we understood the impact and the long-term impact that his arrival and choosing to continue his career in Major League Soccer is going to have on the sport in this country.
Shouldn't his name have been Valderrama?
That would have been good.
I don't know if you really lobbied for it and just couldn't make it happen. I'm telling you, let's keep it in Miami with Messi. I'm going to bring it to an NBA platform here. I've talked to Mickey Harrison and Andy Ellisberg, talking about really good, executives in sports years ago. And they told me that in Miami, that market, it is not good enough to be a good team. Like, the Heat had to be an attraction. They had to have LeBron. They had to have Shaq, because there's just too much competition, whether it be the beach or the clubs or whatever there is. Are we learning that about Miami? Will it be enough post-Messi? Is it enough to be a really good team, or do you need that star power attraction?
Well, it's going to be what I know about that club is they're committed to excellence. And again, they just signed, they just announced the addition of a new sporting director, so they're very focused on sporting product. They didn't stop at Messi. They signed Luis Suarez, who's one of the most gifted strikers in history. They're signing a lot of young talent, perhaps not as known at the international level, but some of the best young Argentines in the world. So they're very focused on the on-field product. The challenge you have is there's one Lionel Messi, right? There isn't another one. So, but I do know that they're committed to the product on the field, and I think as they've demonstrated, investing in star power has helped to drive their business. They're also building a new stadium, which will be in the heart of Miami, near the airport. And so I think that state-of-the-art stadium, in my opinion, is going to be one of the great stadiums in the world, and geographically very well positioned to be a very meaningful soccer host city, if you think about, from an America's standpoint.
Can I get you in trouble, or try to get you in trouble for a minute?
You can try.
Every time one of my reporters writes something like, "Oh, among the big four, sports, yada yada yada," the email comes in from the hardest working man in PR, Dan Quartermash. Hey, don't forget us. You should include MLS, and I get it. But we do our valuations. We do our team valuations. I'm curious, when, from a revenue standpoint, when do you foresee MLS maybe kicking the door down and eclipsing one of what would traditionally be known as the big four sports?
I don't think we have a timeline. I think as you've seen over our 30-year history, it's all a process, right? There are leagues of the past that try to overinvest in the short term and try to get to a certain place without the right timeline. I think our owners have been committed to investing the right timelines in the right ways. We've made enormous investment in soccer-specific stadiums, enormous investments in the development of players, the launch of MLS Next Pro, the launch of MLS Next to get the right talent pipeline, foreign players coming into the league, training facilities, and the list goes on and on and on. So I don't know that there's a specific target right now where we're going to pass one of the other leagues, but I know there's an enormous amount of ambition to be the best soccer league in the world, one of the best sports league in North America, and there's high confidence that we'll get there.
I do have on that line, I've got a facilities question. So some MLS teams play in huge venues, like in Atlanta where you were. You have other teams like LAFC that have built soccer-specific stadiums, which, as you mentioned, have been a big priority of Commissioner Garber and the league for the past 15 years or so. I sometimes talk to owners about where they see trajectory of MLS and wonder if at some point the commercial goals that they have, at some point make those soccer stadiums too small. If at some point the league, if it grows the way that owners and executives think it might, if at some point you look at a soccer-specific stadium like what LAFC has and think, this is too small for the commercial aspirations that we have. I do wonder what you think about that. If that's a problem you guys would love to have.
Nice problem to have,
much interest that suddenly this new push for stadiums makes them obsolete, or if you think I'm thinking too much about the push and pull there.
It would be a great problem to have. I think you know the history of our league, and the focus in building soccer-specific stadiums was to provide the right experience, the right environments for fans. If you think about everything that goes into a game day experience, sightlines is something that's sometimes problematic for soccer in big buildings. The right technology,
quite a bit, yeah.
Right, food options that fit our fans, the whether they're wired and the types of experience that they offered fans. There's a myriad of things that go into building the right soccer experience, and I think we've done a really good job of building venues that can offer that. You've seen a lot of clubs flexing into bigger buildings for moments. That's a great thing, because much like Soccer United Marketing taking content into markets and reaching new fans, the ability for example, the LAFC and the Galaxy to play in the Rose Bowl on July 4th, it's going to reach a much broader audiences, bring new people into the fold, and again, we'll be able to hopefully build those relationships with those fans and make them long-term fans of Major League Soccer. So long-term, it'd be a great problem to have. It'll be indicative of growth, demand. I think in the near term, we're focused on making sure that we have the right experiences in those stadiums. For some clubs, it's about the right product offering, standing sections, for example, more premium, the right rituals. For others, it's a capacity thing. So I think over time, it'd be a great problem to have. In the meantime, I think we're focused on making sure the fans who are coming, it's the right experience for them.
Eben knows. Give me smaller, give me premium. That's where it's all going. They wring that revenue out of those premium experiences, parking lot experiences, all those things. And by the way, the cheap seats up top are the most expensive when you're constructing a stadium. So you save on those costs, and you're really ringing in some premium stuff. Now, Eben, I'm a little. By the way, when you talked about experiences, I thought you were going to go on your samosa rant. Like there were many samosas available at the cricket, and he couldn't get himself a hot dog. But that's a whole nother thing, Camilo. Eben, I'm really disappointed about it. I mean, we're almost at time, and I can't think of a better guest where you perhaps would like to try and settle our long-running debate that we have in the office.
Oh, I have a feeling Camilo's going to agree with me on this.
I don't know, but I just thought this would be the perfect. I mean, this really is the perfect guest. So
this is it.
If you want to tee it up,
How much?
Way back when at New York City FC, when NYCFC signed.
Don't make it biased. Just say a certain guy named Villa. Don't make it biased.
A certain soccer star named Villa. Scott and I debated the proper way to pronounce his first name as American soccer fans, and I won't say what side who was on, but David versus David, and I'm curious how you think the proper way to pronounce that specific Spanish soccer player's name should be.
How many people have been part of this debate? Have you surveyed it? I mean, the sample one doesn't.
This is we're talking a decade. We've had this debate for a decade.
Eben has been wrong in our debates for many, many, many years. So this is just one that I think we need closure on this one. We bring new ones in, but Eben has never really. He's dog on bone on this one. He has not let it go.
What if I said David?
Eben.
No.
Eben.
Eben, 100% David Villa. David.
Yes.
Eben, I just so you know, Eben, I back-channeled with Camilo before the taping to have him say David. Knowing full well that reading his background, there was no chance he was going to agree with me.
Of course.
But that moment
Because
you felt pierced, that was the moment I needed. I needed you to be deflated for a moment.
I feel vindicated anyway.
Eben, on behalf of David and Major League Soccer, thanks for fighting the good fight for 10 years. Much appreciated.
Well, I'm the guy who actually remember, thank you, John Patrikoff, invited me up to participate in a team practice with NYCFC, and I was in a drill with David, and Patrick Vieira was overseeing, and I was a pretty good soccer player in my day, Camilla. So I was going, I'm like, they knew, like, hey, I think Patrick even said, hey, we got a player here, and I go to the drill, and I go to push off hard left, and my left calf exploded. And I just hit the ground. I think everybody was just laughing at me, crawled off the field, and that was the end. That's it. I have not done an athletic thing since. I realized I've hit a certain age. I will no longer run. That's it. I'm done.
Scott's MLS dream is officially dead.
I had a wonderful 90-second career, Camilo. I had a moment.
Hell of a debut.
Thank you. Yeah, a debut and a finale. Thank you very much.
This was fun. Camilo Durana, the executive vice president at Major League Soccer and Soccer United.
¿Quiere hablar en español, Camilo?
You can.
We do this. We talk with the guests when Eben tries to close
you're gonna
the
like
show.
This guy. You can find Camilo on Twitter at Camilo _.
Oh, no.
Durana.
Camilo, no me gusta the underscore. No me gusta.
You can find Scott on Twitter at
Novy-Williams tiene un
Soshnick. You
también.
can find me on Twitter at Novy_Williams.
Eso cuando yo
The show
estoy
is produced
hablando.
by Aaron
Mira.
Greenwald. Thank you very much to Aaron. Sporticast digital media editor Cora Veltman would like you to know that you can follow the show at Sporticast, which is the hub of the Sportico Media Network.
A+ close, man. A+ close.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well,